Hey everyone, today's class is going to be focusing on stretches to help out the back. As always, listen to your body first and my words second. So when we are ready, we can find any easy seat. It doesn't have to be cross-legged if cross-legged doesn't feel good for us. We'll let our hands rest however we want them to rest, and if it is comfortable, I invite you to close the eyes. And we're going to take a few minutes here, finding our easy seat and finding some mindful breath. So studies are showing the link between mind-body exercises and deep diaphragmatic breathing and things that can help combat low back pain, especially chronic low back pain. So we're going to take a few moments to find our breath. And what we might do first before we find that breath is to find our hips. And can we notice where our hips are connecting down to the ground? Can we find one spot on either side of our pelvis that is closest connecting to the ground? This is known as our sit bones in yoga, our ischial tuberosities in anatomy class. And if it's possible, can we press those two sit bones down and maybe we get a little taller as a result? And if it's possible, can we notice our shoulders? Did we find that they rose up on us a little bit? And if it's possible, we'll take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, we'll relax our shoulders away from the ears. So can we play with that dynamic of pressing those sit bones straight down, but letting our shoulders relax away from the ears? And then if it's possible, we'll take a moment to notice our breath. As always, we don't have to do anything different with that breathing. It could be as simple as noticing our inhale and noticing the exhale. As always, the things I suggest are always that they are pure suggestions. Now, if it works for us, I invite you to do what is known as balloon breathing. Now, what we might do is we might first just imagine any type of balloon. And on the inhale, that balloon inflates. And on the exhale, that balloon deflates. So again, we could repeat that. The inhale, the balloon inflates. And the exhale, the balloon deflates. Now I invite you to give that a few more breaths just to notice what that feels like. Now, if it is possible, I invite you to imagine that the rib cage is that balloon. And on the inhale, it will inflate out in all directions. And on the exhale, it deflates back. So on our inhale, inflating out in all directions, front to back, side to side, corner to corner. And on the exhale, it relaxes. So again, on the inhale, inflating out in all directions. On the exhale, it relaxes. Now we might even think on the inhale, that diaphragm, we're imagining it dropping down. And on the exhale, returning back. So again, on the inhale, that diaphragm dropping down. The exhale, bringing it back. Ideally, we're doing this with our balloon breath. So again, on the inhale, those ribs have expanded. The exhale, it comes back. Now we're giving this a few more breaths. So mindful, we don't have to do every single thing I am suggesting. As always, if adding on ever feels like taking away, we step back. We go to our level and nobody else's. Just give that 2 or 3 more deep breaths. Now, if we can, we'll bring our hands together at our heart, and we'll pause here for a moment. Even with our short classes, I invite you to set a positive intention. Can you think of a positive trait? Maybe it's something we're hoping to see more of or something to cultivate within ourselves, like patience, strength, love, presence. And would it change anything about today's practice if we allowed that to be our focus for today? And then we could take in the inhale that we need. And the exhale could rest our hands against our legs. And always mindful, the eyes could stay closed for as long or as little as we need. And on our next inhale, we'll let our arms reach up and overhead. On our next exhale, we'll twist through the rib cage area towards the right, and as we do so, eventually our hands will come down. Now the hands can find the ground, the hands can find our legs, but checking in, can we stay tall through our back? If our right hand is behind us and we find that we kind of sagged into it, we're collapsing weight into that hand, I invite you to get tall and maybe that hand just rests on our back or on our hip. We're going to give this one more breath in, one more breath out. And then as we're ready, we'll come back to center. Those arms can lift up. And on our exhale, we'll twist to the other side. And again, we're trying to think the rib cage did the twist and the hands just so happen to come down onto the ground. The hands really are just there for moderate support, that's it. And again, just noticing, can I stay tall through my back? Does pressing those sit bones straight down into the ground help? We're just gonna try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. From here, we'll find our flow, and that just means breath with movement. On our next inhale, we'll come back to center and let our arms reach up. And on our exhale, we'll twist to the other side and we'll let the hands come down. But then on that corresponding inhale, right back to center. And on the exhale, we twist in the opposite direction. And now can we repeat this? Our inhales are our reminder to come to center. Our exhales are our reminder to find our twists. So again, we can inhale for center. We'll exhale and twist. And can we give this one more on each side, now at our own pace? Now, when we are ready, we'll meet back at center and let our arms lift up again. This time we'll find our side bend. We'll take that right hand, we'll let it find the ground. That left arm can reach up or up and overhead. Now, it's up to us to figure out what feels good. But I invite you to first and foremost let that left hip anchor down to the ground. Don't let it come along for the ride. Now, if we like, we are welcome to slide out that right hand or put a bend in the elbow, but check in with your left side of the back every step of the way. It does us no favors to be in a stretch that doesn't feel good for the body. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. Now, if we can, we're coming right back to center. We're bringing those arms up. Now we'll take that left arm down to the ground to the side of us. And we can reach up or up and overhead. Can we glue that right hip to where it is? And then maybe we slide out that left hand. Maybe it feels good to put a bend in the elbow. Make that pose your own. Again, this is your back, nobody else's back. That means this is your pose and nobody else's pose. So we're going to try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out. Now, if we can, we'll repeat this. We'll come back up to center. We'll find our way into that side bend towards the right. We'll pause here if that's possible. As always, we don't have to add on movement if movement does not work for us. If we would like, we're going to add in a little bit of a flow, and it might feel like we're doing a ballet move, but it will help get at some of the harder to reach back muscles. We're going to take our top arm, and we're going to let it slide back as if we're about to grab something on a counter behind us, and we're welcome to lift up through the chest. Maybe this gives us a little shoulder stretch. Now, when we're ready, we're coming back to that side bend, and we're going to reach up and towards the side, and eventually we can lower that arm down. Now we're welcome to reach for the wall like we're about to shake somebody's hand. We're also welcome to point out the floor or let the fingers rest on the floor. Listen to your back. Again, if this doesn't feel good, we ease out until we found something that feels good. So whatever we found, we're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. And now we're going to come back to that flow. Now, if we're ready, we'll inhale back to a side bend and let that arm slide back like we're grabbing something on the counter. On our next exhale, we're going to do that reaching up and towards the side and eventually downwards. But on an inhale, we're going to come right back to that sliding of the arm back. And on the exhale, we're going to reach forwards and down one more time if we can. So we're going to do that sliding back. And then that reaching and then reaching downwards. We're going to pause with this one if we can. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Now if we can, we're coming back to our side bend. We'll come all the way up to center and we'll try it on the other side so that opposite arm can come down. We can reach up or up and overhead. And likewise, we can just stay here and just take some deep breaths. This has benefits in and of itself. If we want to add on the movement, we're going to slide that arm back. We're going to pause here for a few breaths, maybe a little lift in the chest, a little stretch through the shoulders. And if we're ready, we'll come back to a side bend. And we'll do that reaching up and towards the side, and we might be reaching towards the wall like we want to shake someone's hand, or maybe we're pointing at the ground or letting the fingers find the ground. What matters is not what this looks like, but what it feels like. How is your back feeling in this, especially that right side of the back? Now, if we're ready, we're adding in our flow. On an inhale, we're going to come back to that side bend and let that arm slide back. And on our exhale, we reach forward and eventually down. Now, on an inhale, we can slide that arm back. And on our exhale, we'll reach forward and maybe forward and down. One more time, we're going to slide that arm back. And we'll do that reaching out and maybe reaching downwards. We're going to pause for this one for 2 deep breaths. Now, if we're ready, we'll come back to the side bend. We'll let our arms relax down as we come back up to center. We might shrug the shoulders out. And we'll come into a tabletop position from here. So some people like to roll forward onto their shins. Others will let their weight shift back. The legs swing around. As always, make that movement time your own. Now, when we find a tabletop position with our hands under the shoulders and knees under the hips, we'll start with some cat-cow movement. Now, it might feel good to round the back up first, like we're a Halloween cat. We could even think light tucking of our tailbone. Maybe the head drops down. And then we'll find our cow pose. We're going to drop the belly down. Maybe the tailbone can lift up. Now we'll repeat this. We're going to round our back, maybe a little tuck of the tailbone. And on our next breath, we'll drop the belly down and let the tailbone lift. Now we'll repeat this movement as it feels good for us, that rounding of the back and the dropping of the belly. And then I invite you to use any breathing pattern that works best for us. I just invite you to let an inhale be for one pose and an exhale be for another pose. So it really doesn't matter which pose gets which type of breath, as long as we can let that breath and movement link up. So again, inhale for one particular pose, exhale for the other one. So again, just a little dropping of the belly and a rounding of the back, maybe one more like this. Now, if we can, we'll come back to a more neutral spine. As always, if we need a moment for the hands, we can. We might take the hands off the mat and shake them out. Another option is to do our wrist stretch, where one hand at a time, we place the top of the hand on the mat. Now, if we would like, we're going to play with our tilting cats. So if we would like, we're going to round our back into cat pose again. We're going to press those hands down into the mat like we're pressing a heavy door closed. Keeping those hands pressing down, we're going to let our hips travel towards the back of the room, almost like we're coming into a hovering child's pose, still pressing those hands down if we can. If we find a little stretch in the back, we'll pause here and take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. We'll come back up and we'll drop the belly down for cow. So we might do that again. We're going to round our back for cat, press those hands down, still pressing them down. We'll let our hips travel back. Pausing here if that's possible. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And then we'll come right back up. We'll drop the belly one more time. We might round our back. We might travel those hips to the back of the room, pausing here if we can. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And as we're ready, we'll come back up. And we'll pause here again if we need a moment for the wrists. Shake them out. We can also roll them out. If our palm muscles tend to give us grief, we're welcome to make fists with the hands and then straighten the fingers out. From here, we're going to play with a little bit of an activate and release. So this is also a core workout. So we can stay where we are. I'm just turning so you can get a better look of what this pose is going to be. We're going to take our left leg, and we're going to take our left leg and kick it behind us. Now, when we are ready, we'll take that left knee towards the left elbow and we'll side bend towards the left. And if we can, we're going to try our best to think dog by a fire hydrant with that leg. Shin is parallel to the ground. And if we're ready, we'll kick that leg behind us again. So we'll do that again. So knee towards the same elbow, little side bend towards the right or to the left. And if we're ready, we'll kick back. One more time, knee to same elbow, little side bend to the left. We'll kick back, we'll pause, we'll hold this. And then if we can, we'll cross that leg over to the right side. We'll let it plant down onto the ground, whether the toes are curled or the foot is flat, it's up to us. And now we'll side bend in the opposite direction. We'll let that right shoulder try to travel towards the right hip's trying to travel towards the right shoulder. Now, some people like to let their hips lightly press towards the left, but notice what we personally need. Some people are not going to enjoy that. So we're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. One more full breath. Now, if we can, we'll uncross the legs. We'll let the spine go back to neutral. If we need a moment for the wrists, great time to shake them out. We're trying it on the other side. Now we'll take that right leg and kick it out behind us. If we are ready, we'll do knee towards same elbow, little side bend towards the right. And if we're ready, we'll kick back. So again, we can do knee to same elbow, little side bend. And then we'll kick back. One more time, knee towards the elbow. And we'll kick back. We'll pause here if we can. And now we'll cross over towards that left side. We'll let the foot plant down. Now, if we can, we're going to do that side bend towards the left. Left shoulder's trying to meet the left hip's trying to meet the left shoulder. So again, what do we need here? We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. One more full breath. Now, if we're ready, we'll uncross. We'll come to table, shake the hands out if we need to. Now we're going to find our version of child's pose. We might prefer our knees together for this. We can also let our knees go a little further apart for this. We'll shift back and we'll see if we can shift back and down, and we'll notice if our forehead can rest against the floor. Now we're giving this a few deep breaths if we can. Maybe we can come back to that idea of that balloon breathing. Now, especially in our child's pose, I invite you to focus on the upper back, expanding on the inhale and relaxing on the exhale. So can we think upper back expands on the inhale, relaxes on the exhale. Now, mindful that we don't have to do anything. We can stay exactly where we are in child's pose. If we want to add in a side bend from here, we're going to first think about our hips anchoring down towards the ground, so we don't want either hip coming along for the ride. And then we'll walk our hands over towards the right. So very gentle, walking over to the right, and we're going to stop once we find a stretch that feels good. Now, if we can, we're really going to think about that opposite hip, that left hip staying down to the ground. If it comes along for the ride, that means we're focusing less on the back stretch. So we're going to try our best to breathe in. I'm going to try our best to breathe out. One more breath. Now, if we can, we're welcome to come back to center, and we'll just try it in the opposite direction. We'll just walk our hands over towards that left side. Now, can we think about that left hip anchoring down so we can focus only on our back right now? We're just noticing the stretch that we found. Noticing that back and trying our best to breathe in. And trying our best to breathe out. Now, when we are ready, we're welcome to come back to center. We're going to come back to our seated position. So we're welcome to walk ourselves up. Maybe we like to roll over our shins, or maybe we just swing the legs around and bring them in front of us. Again, make that time your own. I always like to shake out the legs a little bit and then move the feet. That just gets everything going again. We don't have to do that. We're going to find our way into a bound angle pose. If we're ready, we'll let our knees bend, and we'll let the soles of our feet meet. And we might like to readjust the hips as need be. Now with this, I invite you to take a deep breath in and get tall through the body. If it feels good, we are welcome to tilt forward. So only as far as it works for us, and we're welcome to keep our back straight and just let that tilt happen through the hips. We are also welcome to let our back relax down. Listen to the low back. If the low back doesn't agree with this, we're going to keep that back straight. So again, make this time your own. We're going to try our best to breathe in. try our best to breathe out. Now, if we can, we're going to bring ourselves back up to a more upright position. We're going to add in a twist with a possible twisting side bend. So if we are ready, let's just take a deep breath in. On the exhale, we'll twist towards the right. And again, we want to think rib cage did the twist, and we can just simply let that right hand travel around. Same thing applies here. If that hand travels around and we immediately kind of sink our weight into it, come back, get tall. Maybe that hand's just lightly on the ground or even on the hip. Now we might stay here. This pose in and of itself has great benefits to it. If we want to turn it into a twisting side bend, we'll take one hand on either side of that leg. And before we do anything, we're going to think about that left hip, anchoring it down to the ground. We don't want it coming along for the ride. That's the theme for today's practice. And if we are ready, we'll start to walk our hands out. Now it's up to us what we do. Some people might find that their forehead gets closer towards their knee. Others will find that it's a very subtle little bit of a diagonal twist. Make that your own. But again, we're going to notice, does that hip want to come along for the ride? Did my left hip just have takeoff? We're going to ground it back down if that happened. And again, when that lifts up, that means we're not focusing on our back anymore. So we're going to try our best to breathe in. I'm going to try our best to breathe out. Now, if we are ready, we'll come back to center. We'll come up to center. We'll come into the twist first on the other side. So a deep inhale. And on the exhale, we'll twist to the other side. So again, we'll just take a few moments in a nice upright twist, making sure we're not collapsing any weight into that left hand. Now we might even stay here. If it feels good to do that twisting side bend, we'll plant one hand on either side of the legs, and we'll start to walk our hands out. Again, notice what we need. Can we think about that right hip anchoring down to the ground? So it might feel like we're getting more accomplished if we let that hip come off the mat, but all that happens is that now we can bring our hands closer to the ground. We didn't do any additional movement through the back, and in fact, we might have taken away a stretch from the back. So we're thinking right hip has anchored down. I'm going to try our best to breathe in. I'm going to try our best to breathe out. And then when we are ready, we'll come up, we'll come back to center, we'll let our legs straighten out for a moment. We might shake them out a little bit, we might move our feet. Now, if it feels good, we're going to come into our bent knee forward fold with the option of playing with our pointed feet. So that will make sense in a moment if we've never done this particular move before. What we will do is we're going to bend our knees with the knees relatively together until we can rest our torso completely against those legs. Now, we are welcome to play around with this. If we want to, we can always walk out the feet a little bit and see if we can rest our torso against the legs. But the moment those no longer meet, is the moment those thighs don't meet the torso anymore, we re-bend the knees. We're going to flex our feet. Now, if we can rest our hands on the shins. If we have the space for it, we're welcome to place our hands over those toes. And this could be our pose. Now, if we would like, we are welcome to take those flexed feet and start to point them away from us. Now, this is a pose where we really check in. If we pointed the toes away from us and we got way too much sensation that doesn't feel good in the back or in the shoulders, we reflex the feet, or maybe we bring our knees in a little bit more and then point our feet. But likewise, if we pointed our feet and felt like we didn't really get any sensation, we're welcome to put our heels out a little bit more and then point our feet. But again, we want to make this our own. Nothing is forced here. So we're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. So can we come back to that idea of our inhales expanding in the upper back and relaxing. So the inhales expand through the upper back and then relax. One more. Now if we're ready, we can come out. We'll flex our feet. We'll walk ourselves up. Maybe we shake out the legs. Maybe we move our feet side to side. Now, if we feel there are other poses we want to make sure we're adding in, we're welcome to pause the video. We're welcome to do what we personally need. We can always be mindful that when it comes to combating low back pain, this is certainly not covering all the things we can do. So again, if we need more time, we're going to give ourselves more time. If we are ready to finish our practice today, we're just going to meet in that easy seat, and we're going to finish the same way we began. So if we can, we're going to close our eyes. We'll let our hands rest however we want them to rest. And again, can we think about those sit bones again? Letting them press down so we got tall. And can we come back to our balloon breathing? So again, we don't have to make this physical. It could be visual for us. We're just imagining that balloon inflating on the inhale and deflating on the exhale. So again, that's all we really have to do. So these deep breathing exercises can help lower our stress levels, and there is a link between high stress levels and back pain. So for that alone, we're doing great benefits for our back. Now, if we can, we might try that balloon breathing in our ribs. This is also known as our 3D breathing, three-dimensional breathing. So on our inhale, we just think those ribs expand out in all directions, and the exhale brings them back. So the inhale expands them out, and the exhale brings them back. Can we give this 3 more breaths? Now, if we are ready, we'll bring our hands together at the heart, and we'll pause here. We're going to seal in our practice with a moment of gratitude. And what we might do today is we might ask ourselves, what am I grateful for? So not as a setup necessarily to find an answer, but just words that we can repeat to ourselves. What am I grateful for? And then whatever meaning of namaste resonates for you today, and perhaps today it is the strength within me recognizes the strength within you. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your practice. Namaste.